And hello, it is Monday, April 5th, 2021, and this is The Inbox with Greg Nibbler. Hello, everybody. Seriously, thank you very much for joining us today. As I said, it's Monday. We want to start you off with some tech news, some entertainment news, some different things that are going on to get your week going, catch you up on some things from the last weekend. We are broadcasting live on Two Box Media's channel, so hit subscribe wherever you are watching, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or whenever it is. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it a lot. We appreciate it. Let's get you started, though, with some news, some things that you should know here to start off your Monday. And the first one is this big shocker. Facebook data breach could affect your username and password and more. So here is what went on over this last weekend. This is kind of a revelation that came through a couple of different sources, but it has to do with really a Facebook data breach that happened back in 2019, but now this information is out there for free. And we're talking about 533 million usernames and passwords from around the world. Each country's kind of got a different amount, but there are a lot of them there, and yours could be part of that. So let's kind of explain just really quick what happened. As I mentioned, 2019 is when this data breach originally occurred. It's something that Facebook said they patched back then. And it was too late, though, for all that information that got scraped off of the site. And then they said that's been taken care of. But this new part that's coming out is that these things have been circulating around there for a while. And here's kind of how this hacking works. Here's kind of how it works for all of these things, is when it gets hacked, they go on sale on certain websites where people will try to sell this information. As time goes on, slowly and slowly, the price will get cheaper, more information will get leaked from the leakers, and eventually it ends up free because it's kind of a source of pride and shows off in the hacking community that what you've done. So whoever this is, they can show off that, hey, we did it. We got these 533 million things out there. So right now there is a site that you can go to check to see if you were hacked. And this is where you can go. So it's called Have I Been Pwned? And it's a website that I've used it for several different things. And actually, it's a great place to go to. This is my recommendation for you to go check this out and see not only for this data breach, but for any other thing to see if your email address has been used. Mine's been, I tried Mark Zuckerberg's there on this one, but I will say pretty much every email address I have has been affected by some kind of data breach at some point. And it will let you know when it was, because this site, what they do is they kind of aggregate this information, put it up there. They're not using it for any nefarious purpose, but just to say like, yep, your email address popped up on one of these things. So then you can go in, change your email address and all of that. This also reminds everybody too, to use two-factor authentication, use different passwords for your accounts. What could happen with this information, that's kind of where the issue is what can they use it for? Part of this particular one, which makes it kind of bad, is the fact that phone numbers were also in there. There's the possibility that usernames, addresses, all of that could be correlated. Most likely not, but it is in there. So it depends on what kind of information they had on your specific account. But just be careful with that. It could make people more victims to phishing scams when it comes to maybe those texts. If you get a text or an email that it doesn't seem like it's quite like from Facebook asking you to re-authenticate something, don't click on that. Be real careful what you click on and to make sure that you're being safe there. But that is something that happened over the weekend. I think you should be aware. And if nothing else, go to that Have I Been Pwned website. Check out what they're doing. It's a pretty valuable piece of work that they've got there that you can take a look at and see. And I'm sure, unfortunately, your email address probably has been compromised at some point. If you're somebody who can go there and have zero compromises, then lucky you. But it's good to know where it is, and that way you can kind of fix any issues or change those passwords if you need to. So something you should know to start the week off, and it's good advice for really every day online. All right, continuing on with trending news. This is something that was expected but announced officially today, and it has to do with LG leaving the mobile phone market. Now, if you're an Apple person, maybe this doesn't seem like as big a deal. You don't realize how big LG was, but LG has consistently in the United States been the third largest phone manufacturer by sales here, following Apple and Samsung, who have kind of switched back and forth over the years for various places. But LG, they had a huge place in the global market, never as big as the other two, but they were really at the cutting edge of a lot of things as throughout the years of putting their phones out, whether it's screens, cameras. Again, never quite as good at marketing it and getting it to people, which is why they are leaving the mobile phone business right now. And it's something that, taking a look at this and realizing just that they're not going to be there, it does mean that Samsung and Apple are probably going to take over that part. The couple of things LG did have, though, they had the brand new Wing phone that is out. They had some new iterations. They always had some new designs at CES that they were showcasing, and you'd have to think, I guess they'll take that technology and put it into their televisions. They're going to be concentrating more on their connected devices, smart home things, EV components, and probably some of this technology is going to end up with another company or incorporated into what they're already doing, because this is a huge section of their business. Not the biggest part. It's not as big as you would think. I think it was about like 7 to 10% of their overall income. But when you talk about a multi-billion-dollar corporation, that's pretty big. So what happens next? Well, all these phones are still out there. So I'm going to guess maybe there will be some sales on current LG devices that are still in the stores or that you can still order online. Perhaps we'll get some sales on those. They said they will continue support for some time with them as far as software updates, you would think, if they're basic software updates. But the division is shutting down, so I wouldn't expect that to last forever. But maybe we'll get some good deals on some LG phones right now, if that's something that you want. Nonetheless, LG leaving, a pretty big thing. So you have to see who comes in here, maybe into the U.S. market that opens up for another manufacturer to start selling more phones here, or it's just going to be Samsung versus Apple forever. And, they do make pretty good phones. So I guess that's how that could end up. But something that's pretty big when it comes to electronics is just LG leaving the mobile phone space. Pretty big. You still have a lot of other ones that are still in there. So you have Sony that's going to be coming out with a new one. You've got a lot of other companies. Nokia still has phones out there, but LG could not hold on. But you can read more about that or take a look and go down memory lane for your LG phone if that is something you want to do. I know it's a small amount, but if you're like me, I had some LG phones. It was cool. All right, continuing on here with trending news and some other things to kind of take a look at this week that I think you should know about. There was a world record that was broken when it comes to the amount of drones in a coordinated display. And it happened just last week. We've got a video of it that came out. And this is something that it's a record that continues to be broken pretty consistently, but this one definitely shattered the last one. So what happened is this was for Genesis, which is a Hyundai-owned car brand, and Genesis was going into the Chinese market. So in Shanghai, they had this huge display that went up, which was showcasing basically saying, hey, we're here. It's the Genesis of Genesis is apparently how it all translated. And we're seeing kind of a sped up version that they put out, but these are all drones in the air, spelling these things out. And a lot of drones. So 3,281 of them, all coordinating to go up there in the skies above Shanghai. It's pretty cool no matter how you look at it. Just the fact that they're able to do that and make that all work. And like I said, this is one of a record that's been broken quite consistently. Let's see, the last time there were 3,051 drones in September 2020, but it was just a bunch of them. They weren't doing a performance. And then there was a performance in Russia that had happened. Intel 2066. They did one, if you remember, over the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. So this is something that I would expect to see more and more of happen. But pretty impressive. It's a cool video to see, just seeing how you can coordinate all of those drones. So that is for Genesis. A world record being broken. That'll probably be broken again. All right, continuing on, talking about another record that just happened this morning, actually. Before this broadcast, SpaceX actually set another first for, it's a first, maybe not a record, but I guess you can kind of count that. They set a record, maybe. Anyway, SpaceX, here's what happened. The Crew Dragon 1 capsule was moved from one port to another port on the space station. But let me explain why that's such a big deal. So essentially, the crew that's been up there, there's 4 astronauts, they had to actually get into this capsule in order to move it just in case something went wrong. So this was done completely autonomously, but in case something failed, this was their ride home. So they had to be on there in case they had to emergency get back to Earth. So they hopped on board. It popped off. It went about, I believe, 60 meters away from the space station and then kind of traversed over and then redocked to another section. And doing that, it's the first time that you've seen a commercial capsule do this, number one. But it's also something that's going to be happening a lot because the space station is starting to get crowded. There's a lot of missions that are coming up, and that's why this one was moving. There's a Crew Dragon, there's another group of astronauts that are coming up later on this month. So that's a launch that's going to be happening later on here in April. You'll see a whole nother group of astronauts come up, but also they need room for a cargo deployment. So there's going to be a cargo capsule, and then these 4 that are on there now have to go back home. So there's only so many docks and ports on there, but still impressive just to see that it did this all completely autonomously, was able to do that and get that in there. Pretty cool stuff. So that is a video that you can check out. There's a lot more coming up with SpaceX and, of course, with space travel that you can see, and that's something that I think seeing the making this almost seem mundane is where it's really impressive. The tech behind this, the science behind being able to do that completely autonomously, just move it. Of note, one of the astronauts actually had to clean out that capsule beforehand because he's been living in there. So I guess that was turned into his quarters, so he had to clean it up before they all hopped in there. That was something that went on as well. All right, one more thing here for you. And again, we just like to give you these quick news hits, quick updates, what's going on for you for this week. And here's something that you can watch tomorrow on the 2Box Media YouTube channel, because we're going to be restreaming it too. And it has to do with NASA doing a test for the Orion spacecraft. Now, this is part of the Artemis program that's going to eventually take humans back to the moon here in a few years. We'll see when the timeline actually works out, but within a few years, they'll be going back to the moon. But this capsule is going to have to land back on Earth at some point, and that's what the test is going to be. So NASA has this giant pool, essentially, where they test things out called the hydro basin. And the hydro basin is, it has 1 million gallons of water in it, and it's like 119 feet by 90 feet wide, and they've got these big cranes on there, and they lift these capsules up, and then they just drop them in water. It's a drop test, but they drop it into water, and that's kind of fun to watch. So these are some ones that you're seeing here from before, from previous years. This is what they're going to be doing tomorrow with this Orion capsule to test it out to see if, if humans would survive. That's the important part there, to see what happens to it, because eventually this thing's going to be dropping into the Pacific Ocean, and you want to make sure that it's not going to be too detrimental to everybody. They've got all kinds of high-speed cameras that are set up, all kinds of technical equipment to measure it, so it's going to be probably a pretty big spectacle that goes on, even if it's just a really quick one. Still, it's dropping stuff in water. I mean, come on, the stress testing. It's pretty cool. So this is what's going to be going on tomorrow, and again, we're going to be broadcasting it live here, so it'll be 10:45 a.m. Pacific time, 1:45 Eastern when this actually does go live, part of NASA's site. They're carrying it across their social media platforms, and again, we'll have it here as part of 2Box Media. So hit subscribe to 2Box Media to watch them drop stuff in water. I don't know. Sounds fun to me. So I want to check that out. It's a good distraction for work too. So again, that's happening on Tuesday. That would be April 6th. That's what date that would be, tomorrow, 10:45 a.m. Pacific. Just follow 2Box Media. Hit subscribe, and that is something we always encourage you to do. We've got a lot of great videos that are up. I always tell you this, but there's a lot of fun stuff to check out on there. Lots of information about what's streaming. If you want some more entertainment, find out what's coming out. We've got some new videos that are up for that too. And you can go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/2boxmedia, to follow along there. And anything else that you need to get a hold of us for, send us an email, info@2boxmedia.com, or hit me up on Twitter, or write us. However you want to get a hold of us, we'll answer, whatever that is. So leave comments, share, like, subscribe, all of that. We appreciate everybody who joins in for these shows. We'll have another live show on Friday, but more videos coming up this week. So like I said, stay tuned to that, and we'll be live with the NASA coverage tomorrow as well. So thanks everybody for tuning in. I appreciate it. On behalf of myself, Jess Serba, Mike Solis, thanks for watching. We'll be back, on Friday with another edition of The Inbox with Greg Nibbler.